Thanks for joining us for Season 7 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
Thanks for the introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me the Restaurant Guy.
Really?
No. Call me Schatz.
Yeah.
Call me Schatz.
I'm like,
call me Schatz.
WTF? What?
Yeah. Together, we are the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, food service, technology, innovation, and capital. Jimmy, we got a fantastic show today.
We really do. We do.
I mean, we got a great show. But before I jump into it, Jimmy, I got to talk to you about something that's super important to me. And I was having drinks last night, and I was talking to. I don't want to, name drop.
You want to name names?
I don't want to name names, but I was with a famous actor at one of our restaurants having drinks, and he was talking to me, and I saw his mouth moving. I'm like so excited to be with this famous actor, but I couldn't focus because I was thinking about one thing. Jimmy, what do you think I was thinking about?
Climate change?
No. All I was thinking about is the branded marketplace.
Oh, of course. Oh, boom. Of course.
I'm with the famous actor from a great TV show that's on primetime television that we all know. And I'm sitting there with this guy having drinks. And all I can think about is the branded marketplace. How can we help operators do better? That's what I'm thinking about, Jimmy. So I encourage
24/7
everybody to go to thebrandedmarketplace.com. Check it out. You will find solutions for everything you need to run your hospitality business today, Jimmy. And if you have a solution that's solving a problem for hospitality and you want to get on it, just email me at marketplace@brandedstrategic.com. We'll get you onboarded in like just 5 minutes or something like that, Jimmy. It's very fast. And Jimmy, do you know how much it costs for you to go and check this out and use it?
I'm sensing this is very expensive. Very expensive.
That's what's crazy, Jimmy. It's free.
Free.
And after I came out of my days talking to this famous actor, I started telling this famous actor about the marketplace. And let me tell you, he started using it. He loved it.
He probably asked you if it's free. How do we make any money?
Yes, he said. And I said, volume. I said, volume. He said, what are you, an idiot? I said, talk to my partner, Jimmy. He's finance guy. Anyway, Jimmy, that's what I was thinking about. Let's talk about the great show we've got today.
We do have a very special show. And as always, that self-promotion was sponsored by Chico's Bail Bonds. If you need
Is there any way we can get another sponsor, Jimmy? Can we?
I really love Chico's. I love Chico's.
But they don't pay us, Jimmy. That's the problem with Chico.
We do it for the love.
Check's always in the mail.
Yeah, love the support. Okay, we do have a very special episode today. We have our friend, our partner, Mr. Gary Goodman, founder and CEO of Yumpingo, coming to us live from Austin, Texas, by way of the great United Kingdom. And I'm just hoping and maybe apologizing.
Across the pond, as they say, right, Jimmy?
Just hoping, Schatz, you don't break into any of your attempts of your British accent, because let me tell you, nobody needs it. No one needs it. No one wants it.
Don't say nobody likes it.
I didn't say no one likes it, but they're laughing. They're laughing with you, Shatsy, with you at him. Okay, Gary. After that banter, we would like you to take the lead. Welcome to the podcast. Long-time listener, first-time guest. Please give us a little background about yourself and, of course, your elevator pitch on Yumpingo. Gary, let's go.
You got 30 seconds, Gary.
You have more than
Jimmy Shatsy, what can I say to you? First of all, hello, good morning. It's fantastic being here. I'm an avid listener to your podcast, have been since it started. I understand this is the 73rd podcast. That's how much I know about you guys. Yumpingo was the third investment you guys made. You know that? You've now made how many investments?
40
in total? 40. Okay. So we were your third proper date in life.
Yes.
And so I kind of feel
it wasn't easy getting you on the podcast. You're a busy guy.
You always remember your third time.
73rd person, third investment. I'm just leave it there. Just going to leave it there. Okay. So Gary Goodman, I'm English. I was born in Manchester, England.
Sound from Brooklyn.
I was born on the day. Well, I was actually born the day before Manchester City won the FA Cup final, and I was induced at birth. So my dad was a fan, and the midwife and my father went down to watch the game the following day. So I was born a true blue. Things are going pretty well for us right now. I qualified as a lawyer. I would have been a terrible lawyer, to be honest. I'm a person that likes challenging the rules rather than following them. So I kind of went into marketing soon after that. And my best ever job, my sort of favorite ever job, other than being self-employed, was working for Wrigley's. I was in charge of Hub Bubba, the bubblegum brand. I was in charge of new product development. So I think
Hubba Bubba.
Hubba Bubba, yeah, exactly. So I was like Willy Wonka for bubblegum around the world. That was just the best job ever, honestly. And then yeah, I moved into the crazy world of building digital platforms about 20 years ago, right at the end of the dot-com boom bust sort of bubble. And I've been building platforms to connect people and processing data ever since. Yumpingo is a customer experience management platform. We deliver real-time guest insights at unique scale for restaurants across all service styles, and we're transforming how they're making key decisions in the business from the retrospective kind of monthly reports that they would be using to real-time daily things to do. And if you want to know how the name came about, Yumpingo, we answer 3 questions better than anyone else in market. The yum is related to how happy your guests are eating my food. So we basically track happiness at a greater scale than anyone else. The pin is to do with what's driving that happiness. So effectively the kind of why behind happiness. And the go, critically, and for us uniquely, is what do you do about it? How do you align your teams to focus on the right things based on what your guests are telling you and saying to you? Because our view is that feedback is really just opinions if you're not sure what to do about it. And that's not particularly helpful.
I love that.
Yeah,
Schatzzy,
Gary,
you just found out what Yumpingo means.
That's fantastic. But I feel like I was going to ask these questions, and then you just kind of like you blew me up here. But listen, we still want to take a deeper dive into who Gary Goodman is. What makes Gary Goodman tick? So we like to ask you, Gary. I mean, you've been a prolific marketer and a serial entrepreneur. But your story goes back to when you were just a small lad. May I say lad, Jimmy?
You can say lad. That's
just
permissible.
A small lad, and I didn't say it in my English accent, Jimmy.
And everyone thanks you for that.
When you were just a small lad at 5 years old, back in Surrey, with the lambs or cattle running around or something like that, right, Jimmy?
That's right. Gary, Schatzzy's going through his Fraser Crane moment.
I'm loving it. Cheshire, by the way, not Surrey, but it's still quite posh.
Whatever. It's out in the countryside over there, right? Probably at 5, you probably had a pint in your hand, thinking about being a football player. But instead, no, you changed course. Not a football player. You got into marketing. And tell us a story how Yumpingo was created.
I was 5
years old. Had a pint. He's out there.
5 years old.
Listen,
the Brits drink very early, Jimmy. You know that.
So I think you might have been speaking to one of your colleagues, Julie, because we had a chat a little while ago, and I told her this story, which my parents told me a few weeks ago. That they flew into Austin about a month ago, and they told me that when I was a toddler, not a chap or a young lad, but a toddler. That's the word we use in England.
Well, that's what I meant. I meant 5 months old. Did I say 5 years old?
5 years old, toddler. My parents loved going to restaurants. And they thought I had a bladder problem because every single time I went to a restaurant,
you were drinking so much beer.
No, every time I went to a restaurant, I asked to be picked up and carried to the toilets. And the purpose of that trip, and I still do it today, I'm not being carried when I'm walking, is to see the food on tables, is to see the kitchen. So at a very, very young age, I had a fascination with food being cooked, and that's kind of transferred into why Yumpingo is here today. So about 6 years ago, a mate of mine from school, who was the CEO of quite a large restaurant group in the UK, had lunch with him. And I was trying to, again, building a platform that connect people and process data for restaurants, given how challenging this space is, given how high touch it is as a sector. And I asked him the question that I tend to ask a lot of people in my career, which is, if you had a magic wand and anything was possible, using technology.
But I thought that was Jimmy's question. He always used the magic wand story.
Well, I gave it to him.
Yeah, that's true.
What would you do? And this guy looked around his restaurant, and this would have been 6 years ago, at his guests and said, listen, I love comics as a kid. And in the UK, that would be like the Beano and Dandy were the 2 famous comics. So he mentioned those names. He wanted to see the thought bubbles of his guests eating his food. And then we had a couple of glasses of wine or pints of beer, Jimmy, if you want me to say that. And we progressed that conversation into saying, if we could traffic light that information and share the kind of things to fix with the people to fix them, front of house, back of house, head office, and share the stuff that people love with each other, wouldn't that be something? And so
and you were 5?
No, this is beyond. This is 6 years ago.
That's some crazy thing. At 5 years old, he's thinking this, Jimmy.
Convoluting the story, Shat. It was a 5-year-old story. Then he jumped a little bit.
I've jumped some years. Okay.
Yes, jumped some years.
All right, well, listen. That's incredible. 5 years old, and he's thinking about how we can help diners. I mean, that's why this guy is unbelievable. Listen, Jimmy, before we get into it, we've got breaking news. Jimmy, breaking news. Are you ready?
I'll let Gary be the judge of whether this is or is not breaking news.
Yumpingo is now. Wait a minute. It's coming in right now. Yeah. It is now officially operating in 22 countries around the globe. Jimmy, that is breaking news. Hit the wires. That just came through. What can you tell us about international expansion? Gary Goodman, Yumpingo CEO, go.
It wasn't really our plan. Right, because I have to say that much is that over COVID we won Nando's in the UK, and they're the largest restaurant group in the UK. And within about 3 months, we rolled that across Australia.
How many stores does Nando's have?
400 in the UK.
Wow, 400 stores.
So for
Nando's everywhere.
Within 3 months, we were in Australia, and then we've been working with their global team on truly trying to map out the kind of pillars of Nando's brand everywhere. And they've now rolled out across a further 18 countries, including places like Qatar. Now, why is Qatar famous? Why is Qatar a big deal?
Don't they have month? Like the World Cup is going to be there, right?
The World Cup there, yeah. I'm not going to go there to see. We have Mauritius, that I was sad to find out needed no personal onboarding to get Mauritius up and running. You got to have 4 restaurants in Mauritius. And like I said, a bunch of restaurants.
But I heard they're adding a 5th, which is going to be amazing.
A 5th restaurant.
Yes, a 5th restaurant.
I guess. So we kind of went through COVID, and because we sort of moved our platform to be integrated with lots of order and pay platforms and booking platforms, it means we could literally roll out Australia in a day from London, and that's what we did. So quite a sort of, I mean, COVID was like sort of obviously terrible across the board for lots of reasons, but there were some things that we were forced to do that we were just able to innovate and get things done.
I tell you, a lot there, and congratulations, 22 countries. That is awesome. And let me just say,
that's like half the world.
Look, no, it's not. Well, it's not.
Are you sure? I thought
it's
it was like 40 countries.
Let me just help both of you guys out a little bit. Coming back from my emerging market days, it's Qatar, not Qatar. It's Qatar. And people will disagree with me, but it's Qatar.
Right?
You play the Qatar, right, Jim? You play the Qatar.
I don't call your company Yumpingo. It's Qatar. You have to put the emphasis on the right syllabus. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Little bit of lesson there. Listen, Gary, we have come.
Thank you, Professor Jimmy.
Hey, I do what I can to. I'm a giver. I'm giving information, dropping knowledge. Listen, we've come a long way from surveys and comment cards. Can you talk to us about the evolution of guest feedback, or what you refer to as the original dumb surveys, to where we are now? I find this to be so interesting. Tell us about the transformation or the evolution.
I don't call them dumb, I call them crappy surveys. But I think that there's a kind of, so when did you guys last complete a survey that you need to key in a sort of code for, be incentivized to get a free cup of coffee, and it took you more than 10 minutes?
It was 1992.
It's been a while. Have you ever done it?
I don't think I think I'm a no.
Yeah. So 99.5% of people never do it, right? Yeah. So in terms of, and technology in hospitality needs to be hospitality centric, right? So my view is that imagine that you had imagine that you had a new dish on the menu that 99.5% of guests never ordered, and you said, okay, well let's make it half price, and it didn't change the needle. Still 99.5% of guests would never order it. You're taking off the menu, right? But
yes.
for 4 years, we've been shipping surveys to everybody that are long form, that are normally the kind of day after you've been to eat. It's putting the guest to work. It's taking 10 minutes to get even 20 people a month to fill it out. You need to incentivize them to do something. And it leads to what? It leads to a report you get, like a word cloud report you get on a monthly basis. And you got to try and take that information and focus on how teams spend their time through operations. So if you're doing that, if you're listening to this podcast and doing that, I'm telling you, there's a much better way, and that's what we've been trying to build out over the last 6 years.
Great. Well, that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about guest feedback in this new era, the new era of guest feedback. How has Yumpingo shifted gears in light of new dining habits and for lack of a better, the pandemic? I mean, it certainly changed dining habits. So Yumpingo, before the pandemic, was already changing feedback. Then the pandemic hit. So tell us what's going on.
We raised our Series A, which is a pretty important event for any company at our stage. It closed in February 2020.
I think it was the day before the pandemic.
I'm just let it settle. It was February 2020. So, I mean, you need
good timing, right, Gary?
You need a bit of luck in business. That was pretty good timing. And then at that time, almost our entire business was focused on full service restaurants. But within a month, they just had the door closed, right? So we couldn't service full service restaurants in the market for maybe 18 months. So we had to work out what the heck we're going to do with our capital, with our money. And we landed on doing three things. We got the data flowing across all service styles. So we built this kind of ingestion hub that sends a 1-minute review to guests at the right point in time, normally live, across all service styles for integrations with like Olo and Toast. We've done about 25 integrations around the world. The second thing we did is that we wanted to make that survey as smart as possible, which means that we've built a survey engine that is a bit like an ad server. We basically now can pinpoint the questions to ask in under a minute that really matter to guests to answer. And we're getting between 2 and 4 dish reviews per review. And the guest tells us basically how happy they are and why, based on us profiling. We've profiled now about 30 million customer reviews over the last 4 years to understand what is the key driver happiness by different service styles. And that's what we've used to really make that survey smarter. And the biggest thing we focused on, which is the biggest ask for our customers leading up to COVID, which is basically they love the data, but data doesn't really cut it. They wanted to know, just tell me what to do. Just use it. Tell my GMs what are the top 3 things they should be focusing their time on this week based on your data. So we built Smart Action that does just that with some workflow around it. So we basically took some time out and was able to really sort of get the product into a place that had a much better product market fit coming out of COVID than we had before.
I love it. You took a time out and came back stronger than ever. Listen, when we met you, we looked at your platform and shared it with some of our operator friends and partners, and we saw how it resonated and why it resonated, and why Branded is an operator-centric platform. We want to do things that are good for the owners and operators and support them. And your Yumpingo resonated with these operators, and rather than kind of tell that story, I don't want to lead the witness, but in your opinion and in your experience, why is guest feedback so important, and specifically, why is it so financially valuable? Can you put a dollar amount on a review?
$6.
I don't. I'm going to put $0 on a review. How's that? That'll shock you.
Okay.
I thought you just said $6, Gary. I heard that.
That was you, Shannon.
That will shock you.
All right, why is it so financially valuable then?
Well, hang on. I think that there's this perception that feedback is of high value, but I keep on stressing that unless you know what to do with it, it's just data, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to know what to do with it. There are 2 major headwinds that we are facing across the industry. They're both related to efficiency. So I pin, if you like, the ROI for what we try and do as a company to those 2 things. On the first is labor, hard to find, more expensive, younger, less experienced, but more digitally enabled. So by pinpointing how that labor should spend their time, labor's not just a headcount challenge, right? It's not about finding people. It's about aligning on people to spend time doing the right things that matter to guests. And that's an area that we focus. Feedback is the inputs, but it's the outputs that make the difference. And the second would be inflation. So how do restaurants absorb these rising costs in the business? And we're doing a ton of work right now on price elasticity for menus based on which part of the menu can absorb more cost. We look at the perception of value. We do A/B testing now for customers based on new suppliers and ingredients to manage margins on dish. And just a couple of stats to share with you is that there's a group we've worked with in the last 6 months across 200 stores. They've been doing an A/B test of their French fries supplier for 2 reasons. One around margins, the other around they wanted the fries to be crispier when it's been delivered. And we were able
They should just buy McDonald's French fries.
No.
Am I wrong?
No. Well, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I think that, but we were able to demonstrate, first of all, that yes, very, very quickly in this A/B test, that the new supplier was cheaper, and the crisps arrived, so the chips arrived crispier, and NPS, that's one of our key measures that we use for happiness, increased by 8 points, and that's quite a big lift, I've got to tell you. They also optimized their portion size, as in they reduced their portion size by 2 chips, 2 French fries, and that saved them about $5 million last year in the cost of fries. So it's about, I can say, the feedback, the surveys are great, it's the inputs, but it's what you do with it that matters.
I love that, especially how that little bit of information got turned into a decision that, I don't know, saved $5 million. That is freaking awesome. Gary, I've been told that you have what you refer to as a 1-minute Schatz talk. Okay, I mean TED talk on why restaurants exist. 1-minute TED talk on why restaurants exist. I'd love you to share with our listeners today, and I will get out my my watch, my timer. I'm ready. I'll let you, sir, go.
You walk into a restaurant, right? You're there for either 2 hours, full service restaurant, 30 minutes. It was a fast casual experience. Now, the only reason I think walking into that restaurant for a guest is to leave a bit happier. And the restaurant can't really impact how happy you are when you walk in. You might have had a crappy business meeting, the traffic might have been bad, but maybe have a decent booking platform or car park. But once inside the restaurant, there are literally, I think there's thousands of things that impact how I feel, right, about that experience. And it's about understanding when people leave the restaurant, if leaving happier, sort of why. And so if you can just, sort of focus on moving the needle to do a few things every week to improve that underlying happiness score, that's your brand health. That's what's going to drive the business. And outside, all of your marketing of trying to pull traffic into the business, if your fundamentals are improving month on month, week on week, day on day, you'll have a better business.
He shoots, he scores. Well done, sir. Well played. Jatty?
So let's be clear. Operators, we got a lot on our plate, man. We are running around. We are changing light bulbs. We are fixing things. We're doing a lot in a restaurant. Menu change, like you said, labor issues. There's inflation. There's equipment breaking. There's all sorts of problems going on. We got a lot going on trying to make our guests happy. How do we have time? I mean, some people say we don't have time to review every piece of feedback. I mean, what do you say about that?
I agree with you.
We just don't have time to review it all.
I agree with them. I think that, it depends on the nature.
And I quote you on that, Gary Goodman.
Hang on a second. I've got more to say. Oh. I agree with them, but you have to look at what sort of feedback it is.
Yes.
If the feedback is coming from public reviews, you need to respond to that. That's your online brand. That drives footfall. That's traffic. Okay, so that's an important part of everyone's job, and we provide that service as well. But the actual reading every review, actually, we have a live dashboarding service that sits in the past in the kitchen that people love to look at because 90% of the reviews is love. And we're celebrating how people feel in a really positive way in those restaurants. But the reality is that, as I said before, that feedback is only useful if you know what to do with it. That's what we're trying to do as a business, to help restaurants understand what to do with it. And it's actually focusing on the actions, not the inputs.
I dig that. By the way, Gary, the reason why Shatsy was so quick to jump in when you say when you agreed with him, he wants to record that and take it home to his wife. That's what he wants to do. He wants to.
Anytime anyone agrees with me,
he wants a discount. That's what he wants.
I will run that. I will replay it over and over again.
I agree. I agree with
Shatz. Hey, Jimmy, you hear that? Someone agrees with me.
All right, listen, before we move on, and I think this next point is more pertinent than ever with what's going on with in the current labor market and with labor woes. And I'm serious about this. I am very proud to share, and I'm not going to do the whole Shatsy breaking news shtick, but I will say that I'm happy to share that Yumpingo has one of the strongest company cultures that we've seen. absolutely one of the strongest and best cultures of any company that we have the privilege of working with and being partners with. Can you share your secret sauce to your happy employees?
Thank you, Jim. And that means, loads to me, I got to say, because it's kind of, it's actually really hard to recreate. I mean, when you work in a restaurant environment, that is a family that you've just built out around you, right? To put that into a technology company is not easy, but for kind of me and the team, it's all about a common purpose. I mean, every job ad we have has "Who Loves Food" by the job title. It kind of means that we have a broad church of people that have come from either hospitality or just have a passion for the cause of helping people at servers connect better with the people that are eating their food. And the context is our VP of engineering is the biggest food blogger in Milan. That's Milan, Italy. Jimmy, in case you weren't sure. He also writes cookbooks, and he's now able to reopen his kitchen that he runs as a restaurant from his house on Saturdays. So we have this kind of over 50 people in the company now, and there's just this sort of glue and it meant that through COVID we did cook-offs together. We have every week we have an award for the Star Baker, taken from Bake Off, and we just embed that into our culture. And I think that I hitchhiked down from Paris to the Camargue when I was 18. I spent 3 months working in a restaurant, washing dishes, and then I was doing like shelf food, so platters, and then in the end I was doing steaks and sauces and stuff. That was the best environment to work in terms of culture I've ever been to, and what I've been trying to do is to recreate a bit of that in our company.
I think you're succeeding in that, and kudos to you and to the team. I think Schatz and I we love this industry. We think one of the challenges of technologists selling into it is understanding the workflow and the processes and a myriad of other things, but also just the way the team needs to operate and work together. And for our listeners, I mean, just note how many times Gary's in this podcast as far as used words like love and celebration and happiness. This is a man who runs a technology company, and those are yet the words that he's describing what his tech does and the information he's trying to garner and gather for operators. It's really amazing. All right, we're going to move on. It turns out that while we started this podcast because Schatz and I like to talk a lot and we like to ask people questions, we also learned along the way. And before Schatz jumps in, yes, I probably talk a smidgen more than he does. Just a smidgen. But we learned along the way that sometimes our guests have questions for us. So here's our section, Talking Back. We'll let you take the mic, Gary. You can ask us any question you like. Nothing's off the table. It's yours, sir.
Guys, I believe, and I've met a lot of people in the US, I believe that you two know more about the art of the possible in restaurant technology and running restaurants than anyone else that I could spend a few drinks with. And so I'm going to ask the same question I asked my mate in that restaurant 6 years ago. If anything was possible, magic wand to hand, and you could invent something that would help your restaurants using technology, what would that be?
I just want to jump in, Jimmy.
Thank you, Shatzy.
Because Gary only knows 6 people. So the idea that we're the smartest people, it's really not that great, because it's like his wife, me, you, and like his daughter. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a very big.
And my son. Don't forget my son.
And his son. It's like,
sir, edit that out, please. Gary made a wonderful comment about us, and then Shatzy just used it. Okay, all right, Shatzy, go ahead. What's your you got the magic wand, Schatz?
Can you repeat the question?
Magic wand.
You're in your restaurant. You're in one of your restaurants. You're holding a magic wand, and you're going, right, I need to fix something using technology. You're going to wave your magic wand. It'll be fixed. What are you going to fix? What's the thing that you want to build?
I think it goes back to, I don't know if it's fixing, but I think there's always this idea, and it's aspirational for sure from a restaurant operator's point of view. And we speak to a lot of our brothers and sisters in the restaurant space. It would be amazing if there was one company that did everything really, really well, and you only had to deal with one company for everything. You have your restaurant, and there's just one other company to do everything. That would be really cool. I'm talking everything. I'm talking buy my produce, buy my beverage, my sale, everything. That would be That'd be unbelievable. If I had
So,
magic wand, that'd be great.
yeah, so I have to tell you, I expected Gary Schatzy to give an answer, um, basically give that answer. What I was going to say is integrations and bundled solutions, and a way in which we remove the friction from the myriad of technology, really value that we need. We're a very antiquated industry, and despite all the movement and the transformation, I'll go with a U.S. Sports analogy. We're still in the very early innings, and I know that shocks people, but we really have so much further to go, and we're accelerating the pace of which we're embracing and adopting tech. But at the end of the day, this is the most fragmented industry I've ever seen, and it's not a one size fits all. So I would agree with Schatz that if I could have a magic wand, it would really be to more seamlessly integrate the various components that one needs, from the off-premise omnichannel to the guest engagement, the guest feedback, the back of house, the data and analytics. All of that is so highly correlated and connected to one another. And yet most restaurants range between using 20 to 40 tech vendors, and managing 20 to 40 tech vendors. That is a lot of friction that needs to be managed. So I guess what I would say is that it's not the magic wand you would have liked us to say, oh, we want autonomous vehicles to deliver our food. But the fact is, it is absolutely the integration we'd love to have to make it a more fluid process for us to run the business. There you go.
So seamlessness. I don't think we can have just one company doing everything, because then I've got no business.
Yeah, we can't.
People would hate all the controls.
You said magic wand, Gary.
Yeah. No one wants to have just one. Vendor.
No, it's not going to be one company, one vendor, but it is going to be a solution. Seamless. It is going to be a seamless, highly integrated, frictionless. Because if we could create that type of experience for operators, they will get better, they will get smarter, they will deliver greater satisfaction and happiness, love to their guests. That's what we'll get.
The good news is that I think that the bulk of the industry agrees with you, including the technology companies that are working together.
Absolutely.
There are still some laggards. Let's be clear. I mean, there's still some people that I'm sure people listening to this podcast know that in their tech stack, there's some companies that are not very open, that are trying to be quite controlling. And I would just encourage them to give them a bit of a kicking.
Yep.
To be more open.
No, but by the way, it's a great question. And Schatzy, Schatzy, your answer, I'm going to give you a solid, B minus. Solid B minus.
Hey, great question, Gary. All right, let's go on to the next segment. If you follow us on LinkedIn, we do a poll every week about fun restaurant food, hospitality, just a fun poll to just find out what people are thinking about. So last week, the poll was, what is your favorite virtual brand? It's Just Wings, Cosmic Wings, Mr. Beast, and Tender Shack. Carl, who do you think is going to win the poll?
It's a tough one. I mean, it's very
wrong answer. America's going to vote.
I think America's going to go Mr. Beast.
Carl says, Mr. Beast. Meredith, America's going to decide who is the favorite delivery-only restaurant.
Well, certainly based on their sales traction, I think Carl's right. It's probably Mr. Beast, but
it will be Mr. Beast.
Yeah, I have to say It's Just Wings, because number one, I like a huge company moving that fast. Wow, huge kudos to them. And then number two, every time I say It's Just Wings, I smile. Like, oh, it's just wings. Don't worry.
Just wings.
Yeah, it's just wings. How bad could that be? All right, so this week, Gary, we are going to ask you what our LinkedIn poll. What is your favorite amusement park? Okay, and the options are Disney. It could be Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Paris. It could be any Disney property that you want. Six Flags. There are a whole bunch of them. Probably one down in Texas somewhere. Legoland, and of course, Universal Studios.
Six Flags. I haven't been to that. That's a new one on me. Is that worth going to?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. It's a great one. There's got to be a couple in Texas, because everything's bigger in Texas. They probably want big ass roller coaster.
Very safe. Six Flags, very safe. Don't worry.
Bring a helmet. They
got everything under
cord.
They got everything under control. It's all good.
Got it. I think that I've been to Legoland most recently in Windsor in England with my nephew who's aged 7 years old. That's pretty cool if you got young kids. But Universal, hands down. I went there with my kids a couple of years ago for Halloween at Universal. I was chased around by people with like machetes and terrible things to try and scare the hell out of me. And it was an experience that I wouldn't necessarily want to do again, but it was universal.
All right, everybody, you've heard it here. Gary Goodman's favorite amusement park, Universal. Stay tuned till next week to find out what the answer is.
Hey, Shatsy, can I chime in on this for 1 second?
You can chime in, of course, Jimmy.
Yeah, because I have a 5-year-old, and she is obsessed, and we are heading off to Legoland. So if anyone from Legoland is listening, or anyone
when do you go to Legoland?
Anyone who's listening has a friend at Legoland, I'm prepared to vote that Legoland is the absolute favorite amusement park.
But Sylvie's not going to listen to this. She's not going to know.
Sylvie's not going to listen, but can someone from Legoland help me out and give us a little extra hospitality? And then, by the way, next year we're going to Disney. So Disney, your next year, and then the following year we're going to Universal. So I've got my roadmap right now. My choice is Legoland. Okay.
All right. Anyone from Legoland, Legoland, if you're listening, please get Jimmy some VIP treatment.
Yeah, a little fast track.
All right, whatever they got.
Whatever you got. A couple extra Legos. All right, here we go. Now it's time for our crystal ball moment. A chance for all our guests to put on their Kreskin and Miss Cleo hat and predict the future. How do you see, Gary, restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology? 2 years doesn't sound like a long time, but at the pace we're moving, that's a lifetime. What do you think?
I think 2 years sounds like no time at all, to be honest, given what we were doing 2 years ago. We were at home, weren't we? Two themes I think it's going to happen, right? Efficiency needs automation. So back of house, robotics, we're seeing that coming in sort of a big way, particularly for limited service, brands. And front of house, I mean, pay at table has been, I am still frankly shocked at how challenging it is to pay for food here in the US, given what we have in Europe. But we're going to cross this chasm as an industry. We're going to enable you to pay for your meal and leave when you want to, rather than when you can. And then the other thing I think is just there's going to be more competition, inflationary pressures, and so expectations are going to be higher. You need to be on your A game. You need to kind of deliver that consistent experience to keep your guests coming back.
I like it.
Can't argue with any of those, Jimmy. Those are things that we are hearing a lot of. Automation, back of house, resonating across the globe, without a doubt. Gary,
so I think we're done, right? We're all good.
We're almost. I got two things to add. First of all, I got to do the branded quickfire because I got to ask.
Right.
But I just wanted to interject. Our producer, Julie Zucker, has informed me, Gary, that there are 5 Six Flags in the great state of Texas, and I am sure there is one close to you in Austin. And by the way, I have been to a few Six Flags with my kids, and let me tell you, they love it because they got some great roller coasters there.
I'm going. Done. Thank you.
Go.
All right, here we go. Branded quickfire. Gary, I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Don't think too quick, okay? Don't think too hard. And just first thing comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm all in.
All right. Your favorite accent?
Italian. Love Italy. Love everything about Italy.
Favorite Hubba Bubba flavor?
I came up with Atomic Apple and put on the packaging, open with care for the flavor. The best thing I've ever done.
Love it. Where are you getting dinner from tonight, Gary?
I am either cooking pasta or my wife is here, so we might go. I mean, Velvet Taco is one of my points in towns. I might cycle down there later.
Favorite food city in the world?
Anywhere in Italy, but in terms of the US, I'm going to say Las Vegas for me is the place. It's the only reason for going there. I think the food there is incredible. Not a big fan of the city other than that, but Vegas.
Where is your favorite place to travel, Mr. Goodman?
Oh, it's Italy.
No.
The
place to be, as in the place to really just offload. There's a tiny little piece of land east of Krabi in Thailand called Koh Lanta, and that's my place. I've moved into an apartment in Austin. I took some photos of the sunsets there, and they're in my room here, and I'm looking at it now, and it's that's my place, Koh Lanta in Thailand.
Koh Lanta.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up on Google Maps after the show, Jimmy, because
I need help.
No idea where that is.
I need some help.
Gary might have made that up. If you were to challenge Jimmy Wright to a game of musical chairs, who would you have better odds of beating? Look at how fast I'm moving. Look at how I'm doing yoga.
Probably.
I'm swimming, Gary.
It depends what time of day it is. Shatsy, because the reality is that, Jim isn't like an early riser. We know that, right? So if it's before
Jimmy hasn't slept in years.
Before 10 in the morning, I'm picking you, Shatsy, because Jim is gonna win hands down.
I agree.
After 10 in the morning, Jimmy, and after 10 at night, probably you're both gonna have a problem, I think.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you say that? What is happening after 10 at night? When the McAllen Jimmy comes out?
I've just been out with you to know.
I was going to say I'll be tired, and Shats, you would have consumed your best of what Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker and McAllen. Why can't we get them to sponsor, Jimmy?
I think right now they feel don't break what's not broken. We're consuming plenty. We're buying plenty.
Very well without us.
Why should they sponsor?
The only thing that can happen is sales go down.
Exactly. I think your answer was very, very correct. I was going to say Shatsy's got me on the speed and the agility, and I've got the size to bump you out of the way.
100%.
But okay, fair enough. Listen, Gary, we want to thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all your great insights. We appreciate your hard work supporting this industry and really do love what you and your team are doing. It's important. It matters. And I think there's some amazing days and things to come for you and Team Yumpingo. If you want to get in touch with Gary directly, you can email the podcast team at brandedstrategic.com, podcast at brandedstrategic.com, and we'd be happy to make the introduction for you. To our listeners, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in with us. We know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and you choosing to hang out with us is something we appreciate and we value. Please join us next week.
Wait, Jimmy, I got Gary just privately texted me.
Yes.
Privately texted me something, and I got to tell you, he is very gracious and generous. He is going to give only one lucky listener. So listen, one lucky listener. We mentioned breaking news earlier, Jimmy.
Yes.
That Yumpingo is now in 22 countries.
Yes.
Gary has graciously given away a trip to one listener and their guest to visit all 22 countries where Yumpingo is, to check out Yumpingo at one restaurant in each country. Gary, that is unbelievable. So listen, dial in now, people, because there's only one lucky listener gets that. Wow, that is the best giveaway we've had, Jimmy.
That is certainly the best giveaway, and you can call
22 countries, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
555.
You want to add to that? There's more? There's more, Gary?
Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your honesty and your integrity over the years. It means a great deal to me, and I can't wait to do more with you guys going forward.
Thank you, Gary. We really do appreciate.
I thought you were going to add airfare to the whole thing.
See, again, Gary's being genuine and having a nice moment with us, and you, Shatsy, butchering.
It's Gary texted me, Jimmy. I'll show you the text.
Gary, we appreciate you, and again, we love being on this journey with you. As I was saying to our guests, please join us next week when we welcome Mr. Tom Gordon, President and CEO of Slim Chickens Restaurant.
Wow, are they growing fast, Jimmy?
They are growing fast. And
by the way, they just opened up a whole bunch of stores in the UK, Gary.
They did. I'm going.
Yes, Slim Chickens, baby. All right, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of the exciting guests we have coming up in the future. Better yet, invite a friend to hang out with us the next time. So until then, this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off with great appreciation to Gary Goodman, and I'm passing it back to my boy Shatsy.
It's the restaurant guy, a.k.a. Shatsy, or Shatsy, a.k.a. the restaurant guy. Signing off. Gary, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye now. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks.